Hello, dear ones. It's wonderful to be with you again. I missed doing a minister's message last week because Rob and I were in the midst of moving from our home of 20 years to a duplex closer to the church. And we are thrilled to be moving into smaller quarters as we prepare to downsize and live into a new way of being in the world. But it's hard to let go of a home that we have loved so much and neighbors that we have grown to really love and cherish. But we are getting to know our new neighbors, and what I'm aware of in this new neighborhood is that everyone wants the same thing. We all want places where our children can play safely in their front and backyards. We want safety for our children. We want safety for people of all races. It doesn't matter the color of your skin or who you love. Every person has a right to walk down the street, to drive in a car, and not be in fear for their lives. I think of my friends who are African American mothers in particular, but mothers of color. When they watch their children leave their home, they know that they are taking their lives in their hands in a way that as a white mother, I have never had to worry about. That's part of the white skin privilege that my children and I live with. And there's so many layers of white privilege that we are now called upon to look even more closely at. So many leaders of African American descent, of people of color, are telling us they are more hopeful now than they ever have been before. Why, we ask? Why? When what we see and feel is so much rage, so much disappointment in how things are going in our country and in our communities. And they are saying because there were more diverse crowds in these protests and in these vigils and in these marches than they have ever seen before. More white allies showing up despite the COVID risks. They are hopeful because neighbors are getting to know neighbors. Neighbors are banding together to support one another. They are hopeful because transit drivers are refusing to drive protesters to jail and say no. So there is a kind of solidarity that is coming together that is hopeful for our nation and for our community and for unity, because we have been on this path a long time and we are called ever more deeply into this struggle to identify our own privileges, to find ways to be in solidarity, to find ways to help with cleanup, to help with each other, to find ways to partner and to follow. We are so used as white-skinned people to being and assuming roles of leadership. And now we are being invited into the spiritual practice of deep listening. Listening to people that we're not used to listening to, perhaps. Reading books we're not used to reading. We are being called to a new way of being, to listen and to follow. And I hope you will join with me in this long journey that calls all of us to show up and to keep showing up and to lend a hand when we begin to grow tired. Because what we know is in white supremacy and in white privilege, what we're encouraged to do is show up for brief periods of time and then think we've done enough. But what we are inviting you to do is to join with us, the leadership of Unity Church, both laity and professional, into the long haul of systemic change. Thank you so much for being with me today. Be well.